Good evening. Thanks for being here on a hot, muggy summer night. I'm super excited about tonight because when we finally get to the code meeting night, that means we are about to welcome students back into our building. So that's super exciting for me. This is why I do what I do, is to work with students and families and make sure they have the best experience possible. So I hope you are as excited as we are to get the new school year started. And before we really kick off and get into activities things, what'd you think about when you walked into the building and saw how different the Commons area looks? It's awesome. A lot has been happening here over the summer, here and over at BAM. So we're super excited for you guys to come back on open house night and really get to tour some of the new facilities. How many of you been in the new weight room this summer? Awesome space in there. So we are super excited about all of our students that have went and utilized that space and work with our coaches this summer to prepare for the upcoming season. So as we get into things, students, you got to make sure you scan that QR code and you fill out that form to record your attendance for tonight, okay? So I'll show this again at the end, and there's QR codes out in the Commons that you can also scan as well. So tonight we're here to talk about activities and the expectations for the upcoming year. Make sure you really understand what it means to be a student athlete here in North Fond du Lac. So just a quick overview of some of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about our core beliefs as a district. We'll talk about our mission statement. We're going to talk about all the expectations for the upcoming year. And then we'll talk about some final thoughts and give you some attendance reminders again. So one of our core beliefs, the tenets that we live by, is we are one. We don't want to see ourselves as just a freshman or a senior or on the football team or in the chess club or in the robotics club. Yes, you're part of those groups, but we are one unified school district here together, and we're proud of that. And we want to treat each other as we are one and support each other as we are one. The other big one is the courage to grow. That means we are willing to accept where we're at and find ways to continuously improve. Nobody's perfect. In this room, there's lots of opportunities for us to learn and grow, academically, athletically, social, emotionally. There's a lot of different ways that we can grow as human beings, and we want to have that mindset as we go into everything that we do. The other one is stand up and own it. And we all make mistakes. That's part of life. I make mistakes as an adult. But are we strong enough to say, yep, that happened, I did that, and now I'm going to have the courage to learn and grow and move on. And so we want to make sure that as we maneuver throughout the school year, that we live by those core beliefs. And here in North Fond du Lac, we also have an activities mission statement. And normally I don't like to read word for word from a slide, but I am going to read this out loud. We will work as one to establish goals as we commit ourselves to the team or club, being physically active and resilient in all that we do, all while we have fun, form relationships, create memories, and grow in our self-confidence, so that we have a positive mindset that allows us to be coachable and motivates us to learn, train, and challenge our bodies and minds to improve as we strive to be team players, leaders in academics and sport, and in life, and showcase our Oriole pride every day. We want to live this out, and we can do that together. So one of the things that we want to keep in mind for our students, that students always come first. Athletics and activities and your involvement in that, that's a privilege. It's not a right. You have to make sure that you stay in good standing so that you can participate in those opportunities. And we have a lot of opportunities here in North Fond du Lac, and we're looking to expand that based on student interest. But we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can possible to make sure that you are being strong academically so that we can have you participate in those other extracurricular activities. The other one is making sure we hold ourselves to high standards. No one owes you anything, okay? You have to earn it. And you're going to hear us talk a lot about strength and conditioning this year. For those that have been working out consistently this summer, guaranteed those students are going to be stronger, faster, more explosive. Okay, they are proving themselves, they are earning themselves those spots on their rosters, those starting positions. So we need to hold ourselves to high standards for that, and we also need to hold ourselves to high academic standards. Research shows us that when we focus on academics and we put athletics together, they go hand in hand. So if we can get stronger physically and perform better on the court or on the field, academics, you're hopefully working hard to stay eligible, though they go hand in hand. And the same thing goes with behavior. My number one goal this year is that I don't have to have any conversations with students in my office, with parents, regarding code violations. That would be a great goal to have. Everybody here is capable of doing that if you are checking yourselves, having that courage to stand up and own it, and then grow from mistakes that you make. So when we talk about expectations, for those of you that attended our meeting before the end of the school year in May, we are raising the bar for strength and conditioning here in North Fond du Lac. So when athletes are in season, they are required to do a minimum of 2 workouts per week. If they don't meet the minimum requirements of 2 workouts per week, they won't be eligible for the following week's competitions. Now, I'm a realistic person. I realize things come up, family emergencies, illnesses. That just requires communication, right? Reaching out to me, we work through it together. But there are ample opportunities for students to complete those workouts, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. This also brings up the discussion around off-season workouts. And I'm really excited to say, and I thank the coaches that helped out in the weight room this summer, we had more students in the weight room this summer than they've seen for years, which is awesome. I will say, however, we had the highest participation, and correct me, Coach Ybarra, from middle school showed up more often than anybody else. So that's awesome. Your off-season training is just important. We'll talk more about being a multi-sport athlete later on, but if you are not actively in a season, it's really important for you to maintain the strength that you've had and continue to grow and get stronger by doing workouts. It doesn't mean you need to be in the gym 7 days a week, but you need to be in there fairly consistently in order to keep up that strength. And so we'll encourage you to do those off-season workouts. We have lots of opportunities for you to get into the weight room this year. And we will be making sure that we are prioritizing strength and conditioning year-round. But we need you as athletes to be committed to this, and parents and guardians, we need you to be equally committed, because these are kitchen table conversations. When you support us and you talk about the importance of being a committed athlete and student at school, doing well in classes, doing well as a teammate, we need you to have our backs and have those conversations and make it a priority that your student athlete gets to those workout sessions. And so a couple different things, if you'll recall me talking in May. We are looking at all different kinds of offerings that we can have with various levels of strength and conditioning. We've seen a huge uptick in high school students requesting strength and conditioning as a class. That's one way for athletes to meet their 2 workout per week requirement. The other one is to make sure that we are offering that in the summer, and then we are going to be having open weight room times, both in the morning before school starts, and we'll be offering after school times as well. And then students also have the opportunity during their flex period at the end of the day, Oriole time, they can go in there and work out too. Coach Ybarra will be opening the weight room during that throughout the week. So there's a lot of different things that we can do, and if you remember, you got to hear from Brian Bott back in May. We've been in contact with Brian Bott. I know Coach Ybarra has been in contact with him. I just had a conversation with him this week. He's constantly working on our programming. Okay, we're consulting him, we're getting ideas. This partnership is an awesome resource for us in North Fond du Lac that's really going to help us move the needle as long as we keep our students engaged and motivated to go into the weight room. So another important thing that we want to talk about, what it means to be involved in our student activities, whether it's on an athletic team or you're on a competitive club like robotics. We need to have a sense of humility and grace. Obviously, we want to go out and win, okay? But we need to learn how to win and lose with humility and grace. There's a lot we can learn from a loss, and there's a lot that can be said about being humble when you win and being proud of your victory, but we don't need to be demeaning to our opponents. So it's not all about winning. Obviously, I would love to see our athletic records improve, and our goal is through strength and conditioning as one of those pieces of the puzzle that's been missing, that we're going to improve that record over time. But above all else, we really want to focus on our attitude and mindset so that we are being humble, we are being graceful, and we are being positive in everything that we do. And that doesn't just go for our students. The same thing goes for our fans in the stands and in the bleachers. We want you there. We know that when our crowds are revved up and excited, that invigorates our athletes, but we need you to do so in a positive way. Our coaches are hired for a reason. We need to allow them to do the coaching. Cheer positively. Don't coach the athletes that are on the court or on the field. That's what the coaches are hired to do. We need you to cheer positively, get them revved up, tell them that they can do it. That's our role as fans. And we want to make sure we keep that positive environment so that we don't have to remove those negative energies from our spaces. Okay, so please do your part, be a positive fan. Talking about multi-sport athletes, we're a pretty small school district compared to some. And because of our lower numbers, we need to make sure that we have our students engaged in extracurricular activities. We love multi-sport athletes. I would love to get to a point where we are offering all three levels, varsity, JV, and JV2 at all our sports. Our numbers aren't quite there yet in a lot of our sports, but if we can get our athletes engaged in multi-seasons, hopefully through strength and conditioning, we'll get stronger, faster, more agile, more explosive. We're going to start being more competitive. We know that being involved in co-curriculars is super important. The lasting memories, the relationships that you create, there are so many things that you learn as part of a co-curricular that you'll never learn in the walls of a regular classroom. For the adults that are in here, how many of you can say from your own participation in athletics, you learned a lot about life and how to be as an adult? A lot. Can you raise your hand if you're one of those? When I talk to adults and we talk about like leaders and mentors, the ones they talk about the most are previous coaches they've had, the impact coaches have had because of those things that are taught. And so we really want you to make the most of your experience. Get involved. Try something new. You might not have ever ran cross country before, but maybe you want to give this a shot and see what it's like and be a part of a team that way. What's the worst that can happen? You find out at the end of the season, maybe that's not something you want to do, but you can go try something different. I would encourage you to try out new clubs or come to me with ideas to get new clubs started. I'm always looking for new things that we can do to get kids involved. Try to be involved with as many things as possible. Because what I know, and I bet you most parents in this room can attest to, that the more you're involved with co-curriculars, the less likely you're off out in the community making poor choices. And so we'd like to keep you involved doing something positive that's going to help you learn and grow as a person and help prepare you for life beyond high school. So as you look through the co-curricular handbook over the next couple weeks before school gets started, you'll notice that we have multiple categories of co-curricular activities. And we kind of sort them in different ways. We have athletics or performance or competition-based groups, okay? And then we have other categories like leadership groups. That would be like your student council or your key club activities. And then we have other co-curriculars that might be related to musical performances. So going and doing something with the marching band. And then we have all those other intramural or other interest clubs, like SCRE or chess club. And so the code of conduct applies year-round, okay? And that includes off-season and summer, and I think a lot of people lose sight of that. So if you make a poor mistake in the summer, say out in the community, that's going to impact your eligibility here at the high school. So if, say, something happens, the police department notifies us at the school, and then we have to have a conversation about how that impacts you and your eligibility, especially for those of you that are athletes. That's a WIA requirement. Let's talk about paperwork. So that was the long line that you were in there. And a lot of you already took care of paperwork. That's great. And Miss Sue is the go-to person behind that table. She's my right-hand person. I couldn't do my job without her. So if you ever have an opportunity to stop in the office or talk to her on the phone, thank her for what she does, because she does a lot of legwork for me to help keep us organized with what we do. But in terms of paperwork, you can get it here tonight. We have it on our North Fond du Lac website. You can stop into the office. So if you're a high school student, that's here at Horace Mann. For middle school, your stuff is over at Bessie Allen, and I know they did a lot of their sign-up in May before you even left for summer. But if there are questions, you can reach out to the respective schools, and either Miss Sue or Miss Brenda over at Bessie will help navigate what needs to be done. So there's a lot of different forms to keep in mind, because especially if you're a high school student, there's a lot of requirements that we have from the WIA. So there's things that you have to sign off on. You have to sign off on that you've actually read the co-curricular handbook. And I know it's not the most interesting and fascinating read, but there's a lot of important information that you need to understand as a student participating in a co-curricular, what it means to be academically eligible, behaviorally eligible, making sure your attendance requirements are being met. And so make sure you take time to really read through that. You have an athletic and permanent liability waiver you have to sign. You have to sign a couple different pieces of paperwork for the WIA, including that concussion agreement. And so for that agreement, both the parent has to sign his or her own form, and the athlete needs to sign a separate form. 2 forms that need to be filled out there. And then obviously we have our own requirements. You fill out an emergency medical card. Those, we keep copies here at school, and we make copies and give it to each coach. So that goes with them like a sacred book, so that in case anything were ever to happen at a practice or at an away event, they have everything that they need right there to act in the best interest of your student. You cannot practice or participate in any way, shape, or form on an athletic team until your paperwork's turned in. Okay, so football's starting next week, Tuesday. There's a lot of football players that haven't turned their stuff in yet, okay? Coach Ybarra probably isn't going to be real happy if he gets to the first practice and like 90% of his team can't do anything other than sit there and watch because you didn't get your paperwork in, okay? And that includes being up to date with your physical. And there is no wiggle room on the paperwork. Either you have it in or you don't. So if you are participating in an activity that is not athletic, so let's say you are in National Honor Society, Key Club, any of the other clubs that we offer here or at Bessie Allen, All those students have to sign off on the co-curricular handbook as well. So there'll be a sign-up sheet that you have to fill out for that. We won't do that until the school year starts because most clubs aren't meeting until after the first day of school, with the exception of a couple that are already preparing for competitions. So a little bit more for athletes. I know this is kind of heavy athlete focus, but a lot of things to cover with them. You do have a fee that needs to be paid. We do have a cap per family, per school. If there's a financial hardship, reach out to me and we'll figure that out together, okay? I don't ever want money to be a reason why a child can't participate in something. We'll figure it out. Concussion testing, we'll talk a little bit more. Is Ryan Johnson here? Did he pop in when I didn't see him? So Ryan Johnson is our licensed athletic trainer through SSM, and he will come in and work with the coaches and get concussion testing done for all of our athletes. And I have a few slides here that will talk a little bit more about what services he provides. If you have questions about like your student's ability to participate in the sport, reach out to the coach. They should be your first contact, not me, because they are the ones that will be in contact with your child the most. Academic expectations. So a little bit of a change from last year, and hopefully we don't ever have to go down this road, but we do require that all of our students are academically sound, meaning they have to be passing all of their classes. And so for fall sports, we look at second semester grades. So as long as your second semester grades were all passing, you're good to go. If you're failing a class, you're going to go on academic probation. Okay, and academic probation is going to be for 10 instructional days this year. Last year it was 15. We reduced it. Why did we reduce it? Because last year we only did grade checks at the end of each quarter. We are now doing grade checks at mid-quarter and the end of each quarter. So we will do a 10-day probationary period if you're failing a class. I will work with you, your counselors will work with you to come up with a plan to get you passing, okay? Our coaches have been fantastic. I know coaches have taken time to work with students or had them when they're at practice, okay? You're not doing well in class. I want you to work on your homework for the first 15 minutes, see if we can get you caught up. And so you have to make sure you're staying on top of your grades. So do that right out of the gate, because when we get halfway through first quarter, you're going to get a grade check. In the past, it didn't happen until the end of first quarter, and that got people through most of the fall season. And then all of a sudden, their grades are bad, and it's hard to get them remotivated. So we want to be on top of grades out of the gate to make sure kids are starting strong. Attendance expectations. This is probably one of the biggest issues that impacts a student's ability to participate in their sport. Let me go back. You have to be at school all day in order to be at a practice or participate in a competition. Now, again, I'm a reasonable person. I know things come up. Funeral, doctor's appointment, whatever. It's communication with me and the coach. Okay? The coach and I will talk about it, and as long as we're not seeing like this huge pattern of things, we're usually pretty good. We understand families have things going on, and we'll work with you. But communication, you'll hear me talk more about it later, is absolutely critical to making sure that our relationship stays strong. So you have to make sure you're here every day. Let's talk about the number one thing that I hope that we don't have to have more conversation throughout the year, and that's code violations. There are different levels of violation, a type 1, type 2, and type 3. The first type of violation, a type 1, that's more when you violate a rule out of the student handbook, whether it's here at Horace Mann or over at Bessie Allen. And we work through that, and there's consequences tied to each type of violation. And the higher up you go, the more significant that penalty is going to be, and that comes in the form of a game suspension. One of the things that we want to really try to do more this year is take a restorative approach, because we understand mistakes happen, right? We want you to stand up and own it, have the courage to grow. So on a case-by-case basis, between myself, the student who committed the violation, and that student's parent or guardian, we'll talk about, is there a community service option here that we can get you involved in doing something positively, help you learn from that mistake, so hopefully we don't see a repeat offense. So hopefully, like I said, my goal is 0 code violations this year. Here's an example. They're laid out for you in the handbook as well. I do encourage you to take a look at that, because anytime we're talking about drugs, alcohol, tobacco, vapes, whatever, that's an automatic type 3 violation, and that is going to give you most likely a 5-game suspension. It depends. It's a percentage of the season, 25% to 55%, depending on if you have multiple violations. But we don't want to go down that road. So make sure you're making good choices. Student, parent, coach, advisor communication. This is huge. We really want our students to make that first contact with the coach or advisor, okay? As we prepare them to be young adults in the world, and things come up in their future jobs, you got to go and have conversation with your bosses. Encourage your student to go and have that conversation with the coach if they're struggling with, I don't understand why I'm not getting enough playing time. I don't understand why he's making me sit out at this game. Have them go have that conversation with the coach, okay? Now, if that doesn't go well, and your student comes to you and, Mom, Dad, like, Coach didn't listen to me, blah, 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 then it's okay for you to go have a conversation with your student and talk with that coach. I would really encourage you to have those face-to-face conversations, because emails, there's too much that can be misconstrued. And all of a sudden you're starting like, is that person mad? What's the tone of that email? Or that was really short, or that seemed harsh. Or I have a question and now I emailed the question and it's going to take 2 days to get a response. If you have a face-to-face conversation, you can work through that in a more productive manner, okay? Keep in mind that if you do go and have a conversation with a coach, that a coach is not going to talk about another player. So if you're talking about playing time, well, why does my child not get as much playing time as so-and-so? That coach is not allowed to talk about matters related to another student with another adult, okay? We have confidentiality rules that we have to follow, and so we can only talk about things pertaining to your student. That coach could talk to you about what is going on with your student and why your student might not be getting as much playing time. They can talk specifics, but they're not going to talk about anything related to another athlete. Social media. You got to love it, right? Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. And everyone seems to have a phone nowadays, right? And everyone posts a lot of different things on social media. And I'm not here telling you you can't post stuff on social media, but I am telling you to be mindful of what you post, because words do matter. And we want to make sure that we are representing ourselves, number one, and then our school district, number two, in a positive light. So really think before you post something. Is this a kind thing to do? Is this a positive statement to make? Is this uplifting or is it degrading? Those are things you really want to think through, okay? Because we don't want to get to a situation where you did that on your own time, and I can't control what you do on your own time with your phones outside of campus. But when that comes into the school during the school day, and there's arguments and texting happening during the school day, it's a different matter, and now the school can intervene. Okay, so oftentimes those social media things that happen in the evening hours and on the weekends, they billow over into the school day. And then we have a bigger issue to follow. So hopefully make good choices. Parents, I ask that you really encourage mindful choices on social media, and I would really encourage you to check their social media posts as well to ensure that it is in alignment with your own values that you want your child to be doing. When it comes to events, and this is like one of the worst things that happens, like spring season's really rough. I don't like canceling games, right? I don't like delaying games because it's kind of a nightmare to try to get things rescheduled. And so a lot of times I hear, well, why didn't you make the call yet? I'm literally waiting till the last second to see if we can get this game in, okay? I feel like I'm a meteorologist most days. I'm watching radars. I'm talking to other people. We're trying to make the best decision. So know that I'm not doing it to stress you out. I'm really trying to keep our games scheduled, because all of a sudden when we reschedule games or going back to back, it's hard on students because those are long days. They're tired physically, and then we're still having to do homework. So I don't try to cancel things or delay things if possible. So bear with me as I make those decisions. When it does happen, the first contact that I make is to the coaches, because they have super fast ways of getting messages out to their athletes and their families. And then I work with Sue to get that information out on social media and get information out to the schools, announcements and such like that, so that we can get people in the know, because I know sometimes people leave work early to get to a game, or you're traveling to an away game. And so we are mindful of that, and so just be patient with us. Luckily, we didn't have a ton of that last year. Hopefully, we won't have many this year. When it comes to lightning, for any of our outdoor activities, if lightning strikes, it's an automatic 30-minute wait before we can resume play. And then we would have to evacuate. Say it's over at OAC, I would have to send you to FLC to sit and wait. And if let's say we waited 15 minutes and all of a sudden lightning struck again, 30 minutes starts over, okay? I think we had one game last year. There was a storm moving through, and eventually we had to end the game because it just wasn't going to stop. But just know that when those things happen, those are just requirements that we have from the WIA to make sure we're keeping our fans and our athletes and our officials safe. Admission and season passes, no changes here this year for getting into our athletic events. So you can see the prices here. Open house night, we're hoping to sell family and adult passes here if that makes it easier so you don't have to do it at a first event. For our admissions, for like our plays or our musicals, those prices are not determined yet, so stay tuned. But I would really encourage you, if you're someone that attends a lot of games, get the season pass. You're going to make out on it big time, okay? $50 for the season for the family. $25 for one adult. So just some final thoughts as we wrap up here tonight. Students, we are going to be doing an activity fair on back to school night. All the clubs and teams will have tables and booths open with information. Check it out. How many of you are freshmen in here? Going to be freshmen? This is really important for you, right? I want you to make the most of your experience here at Horace Mann. Check them out. Get as much information as you can. Try some new things. You're going to get whatever you put into your high school experience. So I would encourage you to go out there, try new things, have some fun, do something you wouldn't normally would do, because you don't know. Maybe all of a sudden you're going to find a new passion, right? And so make sure you check out those booths, get some information. Stay tuned for Oriole TV announcements and other PA announcements that we will make about the startup of some of our other school clubs that we have here. And so, again, don't let school happen to you, okay? Get involved. Be a leader. Do something different. Because hopefully you're not here just to earn a grade, get a diploma, and get out of here. We want you to have an experience here that as an adult you can be like, man, I had so much fun when I was in school at North Fond du Lac. I tried so many things. And hopefully you stay in the community and your children will come here and you can say, hey, you should do that, I did that too. Or I wished I would have done that, you should go try it. You get what you put into your high school experience, so give it your all. So final thoughts, students. Make sure you fill out that attendance form. You need to do this. This is part of getting cleared to attend your first practice. You need to sign off that you were here for the code meeting and heard me go through these expectations. So these are all the things we required. Give me a thumbs up if you're like, good, I got it. Thumbs to the side. Whoa, you went way too fast. I'm confused and I have a lot of questions. Or down like, I'm lost. I have no idea what's going on. Because if you're off to the side or you're down, I would encourage you to stick around for a few minutes. Come and ask me some questions. I have a little bit of time, 20 minutes at 6 o'clock. Coaches, I'll meet you in the library for our monthly meeting. But you're always welcome to reach out to me. Call the office. They'll connect you to me. You can always email me as well. But thank you for coming tonight.